He was about 11 or 12 years old when he was first introduced to opioids. That was his drug of choice. We moved to Hawaii when he was a year old, and he lived there for about 9 years. He taught himself how to swim by, I handed him a mask and a snorkel. And he learned how to swim right there in the shallow ends of the Hawaii shores, just following the fish. Wow. He knew that he wanted to see what was in that ocean. So when I gave him the mask and I put it on his face and he looked in the water, he just went, and from that moment forward, he wanted to be a marine biologist. He wanted to follow the fish, and he wanted to know about them. He wanted to be a part of their lives. So, yeah, we left Hawaii, and we moved to Atlanta. You would think that he was a military brat, but he wasn't because of all the moving around that we did. But I got him enrolled in school and everything, and it was hard for him. Given the times, he was one of the only Caucasian boys going to school there. So, and I was kind of hard on him as far as not letting anybody pick on him, and for him to always stand up for who he was and what he believed in and stuff. So he got into a couple of fights there. But he did his best, standing his own ground. Anthony was a really good kid, though. He just wanted to have a good life. Although when he was, I want to say 12, maybe 13, he was skimboarding with his dad at the beach in California. He broke his leg skimboarding, which went to the emergency room, and that was his first introduction to pain medicine. After that, I think he just went to his friends. I had found him using marijuana, which I couldn't say anything negative about it because it helped me with my anxiety and my depression at the time. So, I couldn't be a negative person towards it. But what he was looking for was totally different from what marijuana was going to give him. He was looking for that heroin high, that synthetic drug high that just kind of knock you out, for periods of time, and you really don't have to feel anything kind of high. So that was his thing. Sadly, it took me a couple years to figure it out. I didn't realize how far and how deep he was into the addiction. My mom used to give him Benadryl and Klonopin when he didn't sleep well. So that was a red flag. But I was a young mom. I didn't understand what any of that meant. When I moved back in with my mom, after she had him for about 2 months, I realized that whatever it was that she was doing was not doing him any favors. I had an addiction to crystal meth, which kept us in a certain poverty level way of living. I had to go back to work full time, and I didn't have any childcare. I couldn't afford it either. So Anthony dropped out of school so he could take care of his 3 younger sisters. I never had them around. Anybody that did any kind of drugs or dealt anything like that, I wouldn't have that around them. And that's why Anthony and his sister became so close, because I was doing my own thing, and it was, Anthony, take your sister to the park. Anthony, take your sister here. Anthony, take your sister there. So he always kept her out of the house. Never let my children see me use drugs. I never had them around. Anybody that did any kind of drugs or dealt anything like that, I wouldn't have that around them. It isn't until later that you understand what your children see and what they pick up along the way. I wish I never had my kids a part of that life, even though I thought I was keeping them sheltered by not showing them anything. There's still a part of them that gets it.
My brother and I, we were like 2 peas in a pod. Wherever he went, I went, because I was the younger sister. So if he wanted to go outside and play, no problem, just bring your sister with you, type of thing. It was really fun until, I got older and I started to realize everything going around me and be, a little more mature and see everything for what it is. And I turned from being the little sister to the big sister, and very quickly. So him and I were always close, even if it were me checking on him through his addiction moments and also being his best friend during his sober moments to, motivate him to have that other side of himself. But we did a lot together, especially in the last couple years of his life. Him and I were like working together. We spent every day together. We have a lot in common. We do a lot of like outside of activities together, like going on walks. We like to gym and certain things like that. So we definitely were very close growing up.
Anthony struggled with drugs. He really did. There were a few times, one time in particular, I remember I was sleeping and he came to me and he said, "Mom, I just smoked some, it's almost like bath salts." And I told him, I said, "Son, I don't know what to tell you. Just stay next to me. You're going to have to ride it out." I said, "But you just stay with me." And I held him next to me and I kept him close. And he was like, "Why did I do this, Mom?" I said, "I don't know, son. I don't know. But just let it go. Let it be out of your mind. Okay? Just let it be out of your brain. Just let it go. Release everything that you think that it's holding on you. Just let it go." And he did. And he got through the night. That's so hard, though, as a parent, when your child comes to you and says something like that. What do? Your hands are tied. He's already done it. You're kind of riding out with him. So, but yeah, he struggled with pills. Like I said, he did heroin for a little bit, but he struggled with pills mostly. Those were his biggest thing. I had saved his life 6 times, and he went through Mom's version of rehab, where he lost his phone, he lost his car keys, he lost his ability to deal with other people on the outside. He lost everything. I was his personal bodyguard, and if he needed to go somewhere, I was his personal chauffeur. And I made it my life's mission to make sure that he got to and from where he needed to go and got to every meeting that he needed to go to. I didn't care. It didn't matter. I was the person that got him there. And I did that. I did that 6 times, 6 different times. It's just this last time I couldn't get to him in time.
What happened?
I guess I saw my brother even through his weak moments where he was trying to hide it, but being high, it's not that easy to hide, or you think you're hiding it really well and you're totally not. So I definitely would, I guess I turned into like the big sister in those moments, and I was constantly checking on him, constantly like double looking at where he's going, what he's doing. Sometimes I would be the person going along with him just to make sure he didn't go and pick up, or just to make sure he didn't go and get high, that happened quite often. He used us as a reminder to stay sober. We were pretty much the only reason we fought through that. Up until 2020, I believe, he got into a relationship with someone in our town, and that turned from like a fairy tale. They were very in love, very close, to a nightmare really quick. He definitely started getting high maybe 6 months after they got together. And I mean, that's not something that's not new to us. We'd seen him high multiple times. We'd seen him trying to get sober multiple times. But we know when Anthony gets in these stages, there is no pretty much like telling him what to do. You can't make him get clean. So that definitely was hard. As well as having them live in the home with us. It's kind of like he was detaching from his own, like just his own environment, his own home, his own room. He was just hiding in a corner, trying to hide from everything. And I think that's where drugs ended up being his savior. And he felt like those were the only things that could help him. So he had gotten into that relationship, and then I think 9 months prior to him passing away, we had stopped talking. Pretty much he kind of left the whole family. He had moved in with his girlfriend at the time into her home, and that was not whatsoever the environment to help him get clean. If anything, it was even a worse situation for him. So that kind of took a turn for the worse, and we got a call. What was it? We got a call 9 months later or so, and he was ready to end it all. He was very much so ready to end it all, and that was his last cry of help. So my mom called the local non-emergency line, and told him, what the case was. They ran down to the house that he was at, and they picked him up and they took him to the mental institute. Like, that's the mental hospital that we have here in Phoenix. It's called Quail Run. And he was there for a little while, and that was the first time I actually talked to my brother in 9 months. He sent me a voicemail of him crying on the phone, but he was clean. So even him crying felt good. Even even the emotions, realizing that he's feeling them and he's not hiding from them, felt real. It felt really good to have him back, even if it was a small part of him. And he came home maybe 3 weeks later, and you hope for the best and you want the best, and you want him to get clean, and you have the hope so that he realizes he can have the hope too. Like, we still have hope. But you always know, like, you can't let them be alone. He couldn't be alone before. He can't be alone now. He can't be trusted. There's always, that other side of him that we worry about taking over. So when he came home, we were just constantly watching him. And I think it was probably 3 days before I found him that he got back in contact with his ex-girlfriend after being in the Quail Run institution. And I wouldn't say, I can't say she's involved in where he got that, because I don't know for sure, but his environment where he was with her and in the city, he definitely had sources, and one of the sources being at work. So 3 days later, when he came home from work, good old day, except for he went in the bathroom, and he stayed in the bathroom for like an hour and a half. And I knew something was wrong. I was like, you know what, I'm so tired of ignoring it. I'm so tired of, like, not saying something or not doing something about it. This just keeps on getting pushed on the rug, and then he's gonna get high again, and then we're gonna go through this whole process again. So I, banged on the door, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm taking a shit, of course. So, and he, whatever, ignored it, and I said, I love you, good night. I was pissed off. I didn't want to deal with it. I said, it's not my problem. I've been saving him my whole childhood. I'm grown. He's grown. If he wants to make this decision, I can't do anything about it. And then I believe the next morning, 5 o'clock that morning, I walked my boyfriend out to go to work, and I called his name, and he didn't answer, and I called it again, and I knew by the second call that he wasn't awake, because he'd jump, and I immediately saw all the pills all over the floor. I mean, they were everywhere. I mean, he was in the middle of trying to strain them. So there's a process when trying to snort fentanyl, and you have to get it wet, and you have to dry it out, and you have to powder it, sort of say. He was in the middle of processing that, doing that, and did one bump, and it killed him, and he literally couldn't even finish doing what he was doing. He laid out right there and overdosed. And I picked up the strainer. This is all, no one knows that I'm downstairs. No one knows, no one's up. My boyfriend just left the house. I'm downstairs picking up the pills, picking up the strainer that he tried to clean it up with, and putting it into a bag so that my mom believes me when she comes down here, because he's gonna wake up. And I get her, we come downstairs, and there's just something off about that morning. Like, this isn't the first time I've been like, Anthony's not waking up, or, I've gone through this with my grandmother and too, unfortunately. So we know when it's time to, like, go. And we went downstairs, and we rolled, because I hadn't touched him. I shook him, but I didn't touch him. And we rolled him over, and you could just see the blood roll from one side of his face to the other, because he had been sitting on one side of his face for so long.
I jumped out of bed, and we went running downstairs. And when I saw him in the fetal position on the floor, I just knew he was not in a good state. And I had just gone through 2 ankle surgeries, so I couldn't get down on the floor. Like, I couldn't bend my knees to be able to get down there. So Nicole, she got him turned over on his back, and the one thing I will never ever forget was the pool of blood that went across his face, because he was on this side, and we rolled him onto his back, and I could just see the purple come all the way across. And I looked at Nicole, and I said, he's gone. My baby's gone.
I was performing CPR until my arms literally, I was out of breath and I couldn't, and I had to switch with my little sister, and I would take a breath, 30 seconds, and then I'd get her out of the way and I'd hop back in there and do it. But it's very traumatic experience. Fentanyl has made an impact on my life for the rest of my life.
Before the paramedics came, my one daughter, Ashley, she had said, "Mom, we have Narcan in the house from your ankle surgery." So she ran upstairs, got the Narcan, brought it back down and administered 1 dose of Narcan. And the paramedics had actually said that was the best thing that we could have done because we gave him a jump start from what needed to be done. And then they took him away. I'll never forget that machine, though, that was doing the CPR on his chest. But they took him away to the emergency room. When we got there, the doctor had told me, he said it took, besides what we had administered at the house, it took 9 doses of Narcan to get vitals on him. And as soon as they got vitals, they put him on life support because he was an organ donor. So he at least got to fulfill his last and final wish, which was being able to donate his organs to other human beings so that they could live life the way that he wouldn't have been able to. My son was always been estranged from his father. And my daughter called his dad and told him, "Anthony has died. Even though we have him on life support, is there anything that you'd like to say to him before he goes?" His dad said, "No. I don't have anything to say. All my son ever wanted was to be loved by his father." That's the one thing I couldn't give him. We just celebrated 2 years this last January 17th. The first year I was in a fog. I was numb. I have no idea how I even got through it. I've got a dear friend, Lisa Tyler. If it weren't for her, I don't think I would have gone through it at all. If it weren't for my other kids telling me, "You got this, Mom. You can do this. You can manage this."
I'm getting a little further than what I was 2 years ago. That's for sure. Acknowledging it and being able to cry about it is good. And it feels good to do it because before I could talk about that story 100 times a day and no emotion will come out. I feel nothing because I'm still there, still doing it. Like I'm still in shock. So it feels good to not be in shock anymore.
I wish I could work. I want to work. I can't work right now. I can barely even function. There really is no... Moving forward is a phrase. It's one of those cliche sentences. You got to move forward. You move forward. You go through it and you move forward and you let me know how you did it because I can't. I don't know where I'm at in life.
And my brother was the type of person to be like, oh no, I know my type of drugs. I know what I'm doing. You know, I can test them. I can do this. Like, I know what I'm looking for. I've built up a tolerance. There was no tolerance. He literally did a bump and had like, so he had more than enough for all of us in our house to kill us in his body. So that one little line or that one little hit or that one little bump is lethal and it will kill you.
This is a pain that you feel every single day that you wake up. That child is gone all over again.